Hello viewers, and welcome to the session on Mother by A.M. Gorky. The introduction. Gorky's classic novel Mother is the first novel written as per the method of socialist realism, and hence it is considered a milestone in the history of Soviet literature. It provided guidelines to the writers who were depicting the romantic side of revolution. Mother was written at the end of the 1906 and the beginning of 1907, when Gorky was living abroad. Part 1 was written in the United States and Part 2 in Italy. Mother is based on a true incident of a revolutionary demonstration which took place in 1902 in the factory town of Sormovo. It gives a broad and generalized picture of life of a working class in Russia and the revolution of 1905, which had failed. Main participants of this demonstration, Pyotr Zolomov and his mother Anna Zolomova, serve as prototypes of Pavel Vlasov and his mother Pelagia Nilovna, the main protagonist of the novel. Maxim Gorky's real name was Alexei Maximovich Peshkov. He started writing with the pseudonym Gorky, which means bitter in Russian. The giant revolutionary writer Gorky was born on 28 March 1868 in Nizhny Novgorod, which is situated on the banks of river Volga. His father passed away when he was just 6 years. Mother came to stay with her despotic father, owner of a dying factory, and soon remarried. Gorky was left with the grandparents. Alyosha loved his grandmother, who used to tell him various stories wherein truth and justice always won. She taught him to love people and nature. Grandfather taught him to read and write. Alyosha entered the school but could not finish it, as he started working at a very early age. The grandfather's factory and house were burnt in an accident. He became a pauper and told Alyosha to take care of himself. So Alyosha went away from home at the age of 12. He traveled on foot across Russia for 5 years, changing jobs and accumulating impressions, which he later used in his writings. While he was working as a journalist for a newspaper in Tiflis, he began using pseudonym Gorky. His first book, Essays and Stories, published in 1898, enjoyed a sensational success. Gorky's reputation grew as a unique literary voice from the lowest strata of society and as a fervent advocate of Russia's social, political, and cultural transformation. By 1899, he was openly associating with the emerging Marxist social democratic movement, which made him popular among the intelligentsia and the proletariat and among the growing numbers of conscious workers. He publicly opposed the Tsarist regime and was arrested and exiled many times. Gorky's early writings indicate that he was a revolutionary romantic. Mother begins the era of his socialist realist leaning and proved a turning point for the whole Soviet literature. Gorky's famous works are Makar Chudra, Old Izergil Chelkash, 26 Men and a Girl, The Three, Enemies, his autobiographical trilogy, Mother, Tales of Italy, etc. Gorky enjoyed an important place in the new Soviet literature. With the increase of Stalinist repression, and especially after the assassination of Sergei Kirov in December 1934, Gorky was placed under unannounced house arrest in his house near Moscow. He passed away in 1936. Mother was first published in English translation in Appleton Maxim, New York, in 1906-1907. It consists of two parts. Part 1 consists of 30 chapters and Part 2 has 29 chapters. Already in 1907 and 1908, the novel appeared in the United States, England, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Turkey, Sweden, Albania, Denmark, Czechoslovakia, and many other countries. In Russia, the publication of Mother coincided with the beginning of the Stolypin reaction, a reign of terror that lasted for many years. Actually, Mother was a forbidden book for many years in Russia. The revolutionary readers could not express their opinion of it publicly. The reactionary critics attacked the book for its alleged lack of artistic merits. Bourgeois critic declared that Gorky was finished. After reading only half of the first part of the novel, which appeared in the issues as Nenny. What had caused his fall and his crime, in their opinion, was that he had begun to disseminate Marxism in artistic images and to speak out about revolutionary proletariat and the awakening peasantry as forces that promised to achieve a complete liberation of Russia. Mother has been translated into every language of the world and is being continually reprinted everywhere. After the great October Socialist Revolution, the ban was lifted from Mother. The interesting side about this novel is that it discusses the process of revolutionary awakening amongst workers. The protagonist is an old woman, Pelagia Nilovna. In the words of Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, it is a book of the utmost importance. Many workers who have joined the revolutionary movement impulsively, without properly understanding why, will begin to comprehend after reading Mother. This fear is what the ruin of us all is, and some dominate us. They take advantage of our fear and frighten us still more. Mark this: as long as people are afraid, they will rot like birches in the marsh. We must grow bold. It is time. This was the guiding principle of Gorky's novel Mother. The novel is based on two actual events: the May Day demonstration of workers in Sormovo in 1902 and the subsequent trial of its members. The protagonist, Pelagia Nilovna, is the mother of Pavel Mikhailovich Vlasov, the novel's hero. She gives the book the name of Mother. At the outset of the novel, Pelagia is no different from the rest of the working women of Russia, who toil in factories throughout the day and put up with wife-beating men at night. For 20 years she lived a miserable life with her husband Mikhail Vlasov, a bad-tempered misogynist whose passing away didn't sadden anyone. After the death of his father, Pavel, who is only a teenaged boy, joins the factory, and there he learns the collective power of the proletariat. He discovers that the working class is the real agent of change in society. That leads to a series of study circles and book reading sessions in the house of the Vlasovs, in which like-minded socialist workers actively take part. The studious, caring, and politically aware person of Pavel and his comrades bemuses the protagonist, that is the mother, as unlike the rest of the youth of the settlement, none of them is a drunkard or has bad habits of squabbling and bickering. When Pavel embraces socialism and starts bringing books home which are forbidden in the Tsarist reign, the mother is initially worried and suspicious of her son's comrades, whose talk she is increasingly unable to grasp because of unfamiliar words, and hitherto unheard expressions. But later she starts feeling that she is no less part of the socialist circle of which her son has gradually become a key figure. Pelagia Nilovna comes across in the novel as the mother of all comrades. She especially takes a liking to a close friend of Pavel, Andrei Nakhodka. She calls him Kokhol, a Russian nickname for a Ukrainian, while Kokhol starts calling her Nenko, an affectionate term for mother in Ukrainian. She insists that the Kokhol live permanently with the Vlasovs, as it will help both Pavel and the Kokhol will continue revolutionary activities. The mother gets first-hand experience of trade unionism when the factory authorities decide to deduct 1 kopeck from each ruble paid to workers for clearing a large swamp of overgrown with firs and birches on the factory premises for the sake of improving living conditions of the workers. Her son bravely puts up a strong resistance and leads the workers' agitation against the factory management. He gets arrested, and the mother, being overly naive, wonders why. From this point starts another phase in the life of the mother. She is entrusted by the comrades to take the forbidden leaflets and prohibited revolutionary literature inside the factory. She disguises herself as a peddler and begins a life of an active socialist worker. When the leaflets and handbills keep appearing in the factory despite the arrest of Pavel, the authorities release him. In meanwhile, the mother is pursued by Kokhol to learn to read anew. At first she shies away, but later in the silence of the night, she takes hold of a book from the attractive bookshelf of his son and tries herself to read. Her house becomes a center of revolutionary activities, and comrades frequent it from far and wide. After the conclusion of one such meeting, a woman says to her, "Goodbye, comrade." The word comrade touches her heart, and for once she feels proud of being part of the workers' fraternity. Then comes the crucial May Day demonstration, for which Pavel decides to carry the banner at the head of the column. Here, Gorky's in-depth analysis of human nature appears to be at its best. Both mother and Sasha are worried about Pavel's safety and fear that he may be arrested. "Let somebody else do it," Sasha asks Pavel softly. He remains adamant, although in a way that showed love and affection. The mother too wanted her son to stay back. Although she doesn't say this to Pavel, her eyes quail. There is a sort of love which keeps a man from doing what he wants, Pavel says to his mother firmly. The Kokhol then points out to Pavel that his response to Sasha was gentle and loving. "But you had to be the big hero to your mother," he says to Pavel. Here the writer beautifully highlights the difference of attitude that is characteristic of young men towards women in different relationships, no matter how well read and scholarly they may be. Pavel and Andrei get arrested at the May Day demonstration. The mother goes to the town with comrade Nikolai Ivanichovich and his sister Sofia to continue her revolutionary work. She undertakes visits to the muzhiks in villages and carries out all responsibilities assigned to her dutifully and with full commitment, while Pavel awaits a trial in jail. If our children, the dearest parts of our hearts, can give their lives and their freedom, dying without a thought for themselves, what ought I to do? A mother, she cries. Finally, a trial is held, and here the immaculate prose of Maxim Gorky wins the hearts of sensitive readers. Pavel delivers an impressive speech in the courtroom, reminding the judges of the greatness of the workers' cause and warning them about impending proletarian revolution which has become inevitable. We are against the society whose interests you judges have been ordered to defend. We are its uncompromising enemies, and yours too, and no reconciliation between us is possible until we have won our fight. All of you, our masters, are more like slaves than we are. You are enslaved spiritually, we only physically. The court exiles Pavel. Outside the courtroom, the mother is surrounded by workers and greeted for the resounding speech of her brave son. The comrades decide to mimeograph the speech of Pavel, and the mother, undeterred by the court's order of sending her son to Siberia, reiterates her commitment to the revolutionary cause. She secretly visits the house of the printer, Ludmila, and after getting the speech cyclostyled, leaves for a railway station in high spirits to distribute the copies of the document. She is finally caught there by gendarmes, and while they beat and choke her, she says heroically, "Not even an ocean of blood can drown the truth." The character of Pelagia Nilovna. Pelagia Nilovna is the central character of Mother. The novel is structured in such a fashion that she is either a participant or a witness of life around her, and hence she is present everywhere. She is the most convincing example of a person's transformation from a prey to a fighter. Journey of Nilovna's life is complicated and controversial. It was not easy for a woman who had spent a large part of her life in submissiveness, darkness, to free herself from the past and adjust to the changing circumstances. Nilovna was exploited by her drunkard husband, by religion, and an acceptance that everyone lives like that. But unexpectedly, she finds herself in completely new surroundings where she is given respect. She is believed, and she starts loving these revolutionaries and feeling that she has to help them. And the change takes place. When Pavel starts reading the forbidden books and having meetings in his house, Pelagia Nilovna is worried and suspicious of her son's comrades, whose talk she is increasingly unable to grasp because of unfamiliar words and hitherto unheard expressions. She begins to notice with joy that unlike other workers, he is given to reading. When she meets Pavel's close friends, dedicated socialists, her love for him and for them leads her into revolutionary movement, to which she becomes passionately devoted. Her life takes on new meaning as she gives herself to the cause for which Pavel and his friends are willing to sacrifice so much. But later, she starts feeling that she too has become a part of a socialist circle, of which her son has gradually become a key figure. She starts sharing their work, distributing pamphlets, educating the neighboring illiterate women, and after her son's arrest, she is seen handing out leaflets to factory workers. Even when she is arrested in the train, she hurls them towards the people. Pavel Vlasov. Pavel Vlasov is the first revolutionary hero from the working class, a positive hero who is convinced of the righteousness of the path and is confident of his victory. Pavel is a Bolshevik. Gorky depicts the process of awakening, development of the character of a Bolshevik by giving Pavel's example. Pavel is the hero of new time, when Marxism had not only penetrated into Russia but was spreading like wildfire. Pavel Vlasov is Pelagia's son. In the beginning of the novel, Pavel is shown as a very timid boy, too scared of his father. He would silently watch his mother being regularly beaten by his drunkard father, but showed no reaction. But once he catches hold of his father's hand and mutters, "Enough." When Pavel joins factory after his father's death, he too starts getting drunk and leads an aimless life. But when he comes in contact with the communists, an awakening takes place. He learns the collective power of the proletariat. He discovers that only the working class can bring a real change in society. He gets involved in the various study circles and book reading sessions which are organized in the house of the Vlasovs. Like-minded socialist workers actively take part in these discussion sessions. The studious, caring and politically conscious person of Pavel and his comrades fascinates Pelagia Nilovna. She is happy to note that unlike the rest of youth of the settlement, none of them is a drunkard or has bad habits of squabbling and bickering. Pavel starts telling his mother very affectionately about his movement and slowly includes her in their movement. He makes sure that when he and his friends are arrested, mother continues their work. Pavel respects women, though he loves Sasha, but he doesn't express his love openly, as the final goal is more important than love for him. So Pavel plays the role of educating the ignorant people and converts them into active supporters of social change. Full of hope and vitality, Pavel and his friends, with the help of his mother, set out to put their ideas into practice. His sacrificial devotion to the socialist cause finally leads to his exile in Siberia. Gorky shows women as a force, as an instrument of revolution, as conscious human beings. Pelagia Nilovna is shown as a woman who shuns her weakness and meekness and submissiveness and becomes a mother to all revolutionaries. This was probably the first novel which depicted women in the role of revolutionaries. They actively support menfolk in the revolutionary work. Besides Pelagia Nilovna, Gorky had included many other courageous and brave female characters in the novel, like Natasha, Sasha, Ludmila, and Sofia. Natasha and Sasha leave their relatively peaceful lives to join the revolutionary struggle for the establishment of a socialist society. The character of Natasha is particularly appealing as she is the daughter of a rich businessman who owns a lot of property. Yet, she disowns her father, bids adieu to a comfortable lifestyle, and opts to become a teacher come activist. Sasha loves Pavel. She has been in jail for active participation in anti-Tsarist politics. Once the prison warden tries to insult her in jail and she announces a hunger strike until he apologizes. She doesn't eat anything for 8 days and this compels the warden to tender an apology. "You can't let people take advantage of you," she says to the mother. Sasha's father is a landlord and a rural administrator who, in her own words, robbed the peasants. Gorky's language is very simple but very effective. The novel begins with a description of workers' life in the slum. Gorky compares workers with cockroaches who come out of their holes as soon as the siren of the factory blows in the morning. The factory is shown like a giant furnace gobbling and letting out workers at regular hours. Gorky uses very accurate words to depict the life and mentality of workers. Maxim Gorky tries to use long narratives but is unable to sustain them. His depiction of nature too seems out of place and does not synchronize with the storyline. Sometimes it doesn't facilitate the development of the plot. Though Maxim Gorky was a common man. He was elevated to uncommon fame. He never stopped opposing the oppression and cruelty doled out to the masses of Russia's peasant population. He felt deeply, and this is shown in his works. Though his literary style is less polished, less sophisticated than others, more educated writers, it is of little consequence. He wrote in the language of the class to which he belonged and which he loved. In fact, it lends more realism to his subject matter. Historically, Gorky's works are extremely important as they offer the single most comprehensive account of the lives of the common folk during the period of turmoil, revolution and early Soviet control in Russia. With this, we come to the conclusion of today's discussion on Mother by Gorky. I hope you enjoyed viewing this session. Thank you.